What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Faithful Phanatics show. Sorry for the delay. We were a little busy making our plans for tonight to head down to CBP together. But welcome back, guys. As always, if you're new to the channel, we are streaming to you live on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube and Twitter channels. If you are watching on Twitter, obviously, we greatly appreciate each and every one of you. If you're watching in replay form, just make sure to do yourself a favor, do us a favor. Head on over to the YouTube link in our link tree. It's the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with us. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. I'm one half of your host this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. The Phillies are back, Scotty, or they never left. So we're going to talk about it, man. Biggest win in the biggest series of the season. They come back down 4-0 versus the Braves last night at CBP and come away with a 5-4 victory, extending that NL East division lead back up to 6 games. They've now won 5 of their last 6. Taijuan Walker's moved to the bullpen. So it's all positives right now for the Fightins, man, and we're going to talk about it, as well as the Eagles releasing their official 53-man roster to open up the year a couple days ago.
Sure.
We're going to look it over for the first time together. We're going to look over the depth. We're going to look over their weaknesses, any surprises, any cuts, looking at the practice squad, what they're planning to do, as we are 1 week away from Eagles kickoff. I know it's a Friday. Sounds weird. 1 week away from when they take on the Green Bay Packers in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where apparently there's like 20 different wildfires and the air quality is all messed up, and there's already different issues going on with players and fans and wearing green over there. This is just going to be an absolute disaster. The players want to go. The fans want the game moved. This is a disaster, but whatever. At least we get Eagles football a little sooner, I guess.
Did the NFL do any type of research before they just threw a game down in Brazil where there's like apparently like gang territory that's associated with both of the team's primary colors? Like, was there any research done before making this decision, man? Like, I don't know. Like, my thing with like the out of country games as well, bro, like just while we're on that topic specifically here, with Brazil, like, I don't know. I might be in the minority here, but I have no desire to go to Brazil. I have no desire to travel there, experience that place. From all the stories I hear, it sounds really dangerous. It just doesn't sound like a place I would want to go. Now, London sounds nice. I would like to go to London for an Eagles game. You know what I mean? Like, why couldn't we get like the London game? Now, there are games in like Mexico City, which I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Mexico City is like better than Brazil. But I would probably go to Mexico before I would go to Brazil, like before I'm traveling that far. I mean, but
look, man,
just really a weird decision to put an Eagles game down in Brazil.
Let's just have some.
They're going from Wisconsin to Brazil, man.
Let's just have some awareness, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't think this should have been news to people, whether it's gang affiliated or whatever's going on down there with the color green. Even if you are going to force teams' hands and have 2 teams play in Sao Paulo, Brazil this year, maybe you don't choose the 2 teams that wear the color green.
Yeah.
And the fan bases that want to rep forget the players, bro. Like, the players apparently are like being transported in armored buses and trucks from the hotel to the facilities and stadium. What the fans
in the hotel room,
bro? You couldn't pay me enough money to wear Kelly Green down there to go to this game.
And then if you're traveling, what is the fun if you can't represent your team while you're traveling?
AJ Brown literally said, like, oh man, I'm probably just going to be in my hotel room. I just want to go to a football game and come home. Like, isn't the point of I get it. It's like you're spreading the game, like you're trying to globalize the game. You're trying to take it all over the places. Yeah. So the point is for the people in Brazil to go to that game, to witness it. Yeah. But isn't it also like for your players, for your teams? Like, what is the point of this? Like,
no, I agree. Like, it should be for the players
today, bro.
Yeah, Martian's going in because the Brazilian women they have a different makeup down. I will say that. No, I see where Martian's head is at this morning with Brazil. But to your point, man, it is something where like they're going to this country, so the team should be able to have like a team outing in
Yeah,
Brazil to experience the country or
yeah.
whatever. But
Well, and
no,
especially like I said, when you're trying to familiarize, that country and that place with the sport, right? Like think about it, like in London, like don't they do things where the players and the teams like get out within the community and
yeah,
like interact?
intertwined with yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
you're getting any of that down
I
there.
don't,
Like you're
and
basically
then
you're basically flying to Brazil, locking your doors, playing a football game, and flying home at this point.
yeah, playing your football game in a wildfire environment.
Yeah, like
Where
with bad air quality. Like
yeah, bad air quality. Go play a professional athletic game. Yeah, it's interesting, man.
yeah,
I don't know. I'll be happy. Like I'm happy we get like the first Friday of football. I'm excited. It's like
yeah.
early and we get to see the Birds play. I just can't wait for them
It's
to come
different
back
too, right?
to
It's
the
different. It's
state.
not Thursday
It is
night football. Like
different.
the next morning, Saturday, you get to wake up. Martian, man, you keep this up, and Mrs. Scotty's not going to let them do their show anymore.
Yeah,
Man.
Martian's bringing the toxicity up in here this morning, my man. My goodness.
Shit. But Martian, speaking of you, man, let's talk about your favorite team right now. How about those Titans, Scotty?
They
Are
never
they
left.
back, or were they never really gone, and people just could not figure out how to calm down and relax themselves? So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Phillies now,
It was that.
I believe, with the Dodgers win last night, I believe we are tied with the Dodgers for the best record in the National League. We do hold the tiebreaker over them for the number 1 seed. We built a little bit of a lead over the Milwaukee Brewers. Let me just make sure I'm not fabricating these numbers right here. 79 and 55, 80 and 54. So we are, is that the same? No, they are 0.01% better than us at the moment. So take that for what you will. We are right there with the Los Angeles Dodgers for the number 1 seed in the National League at the moment. And we are now a game and a half above the Milwaukee Brewers, who are sitting in that 3 spot, which is obviously incredibly important. When not only do you want to win the division, but winning the division, I don't want to say it means nothing, but it means nothing if you don't get that first round bye as one of the top 2 seeds, because now you're just hosting a wild card series potentially against a Braves team or a Mets team or a Diamondbacks team that you just don't want to see that early in a 3-game set where anything can happen. So getting one of those top 2 seeds remains to be the goal. Obviously, getting the top one would be the goal for the Phillies to get home field at the bank throughout the postseason, man. But this team, they're still hard to read a bit, Scotty, because they go to Kansas City after, struggling. And you and I a week ago today spoke about, I believe Taijuan Walker was actually on the mound last Friday. And we spoke about the fact that I don't think this is the series they're going to turn things around. You have Taijuan Walker, and then you have Colby Allard, and then you have Taijuan Walker, then you have Ranger Suarez making his debut, and then you have Colby Allard. So I just don't know how this whole series is going to go. Well, they go into Kansas City, they obviously lose a Taijuan Walker start, but then they win the next 2 and they win that series. And that was humongous, because then they come home. The bats were rolling that entire series, by the way, even in the loss. They come home, they win the first 2 against the Astros. Then Rob Thompson makes a managerial decision. I know people freaking out. Well, why is he even starting? That's not on the manager's hands. He's dealt his rotation. Okay, he makes the decision. I got to flip Taijuan because we already won this series. Let him go against Houston, so we don't have to throw him in the important 4-game stretch against the Braves. We know they got massacred, right? Now the sky starts to fall again, 10-0, Taijuan Walker, like Martian saying, it is a Doc Rivers scheduled loss at that point. And all the momentum's gone, it feels like. They got no hit until like the 8th inning or whatever. Until last night. And not just last night, halfway through last night, they were lifeless. Through the first 5 innings, man.
Wasn't a great start.
Down 4-0, could not put Charlie Morton away, who struggles in his career here at Citizens Bank Park. And then all of a sudden, Brandon Marsh hits one to left center, Oppo Taco, just like he did a few games ago, and makes this a 4-3 ball game. And there's life inserted back into the Phillies fans. And then just a few moments later in the following inning, Nick Castellanos sends one to deep center, and gives the Phillies a 5-4 lead, ultimately wins the game for them, man.
Here
And
goes Cosby.
I want to take this moment to shout out Nick Castellanos, okay?
Yeah.
Because this dude, I still feel like he's flying under the radar. I still feel like any single time he swings at a slider low and away and strikes out, anytime he hits into an ending double play, there's backlash, there's heat, there's boos, there's tweets. This dude has been their best and most consistent hitter for the last 3 months. This version of Nick Castellanos is exactly what the Phillies paid for. Now, it was great when he was sending 420-foot moonshots off of Spencer Strider in the postseason last year. And he went on that heater of home run, home run, home run, home run.
Yeah.
But this is different. This is consistent. He's not hitting for, I mean, he's got what now? 19 home runs on the year, I believe. He's hitting well for power, but he's just doing the little things too, man. 2 outs, runner on second, tie ball game, bloops one into center field, brings in the go-ahead run, pulls one down the third baseline for a rally, for a double, whatever he has to do, man. Nick Castellanos has been the Phillies' most consistent hitter for a long, long time right now.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I think we got to give Casty a little bit of credit here, man. Obviously cranked for the second time in the last 3 games. He also got one out in that game 2 against the Astros. Obviously, like you said, he's one of the more consistent guys, and it takes me to the postseason and how important is Nick Castellanos to this team, right, and to this batting lineup. But it becomes one of those things where you can look at him as the X factor, you can look at Trey as the X factor, Alec Bohm as the X factor. There's a bunch of X factors mixed in here. But I think it just points back to your point that we've been going over the last 2 weeks. Or not even 2 weeks, the last 2 months, I guess you would say. It feels like the last 2 weeks because we've been honing in on it. But the last 2 months, you've just been telling everybody to relax. And obviously, you got Ranger on the mound tonight. You need to, once again, go back out there, perform well, and keep this going. But things are starting to look a little bit up, right? And you look at the teams around the rest of the league. Every team has gone through a stretch like the Phillies have gone throughout the last 2 months. And when you start to have them come out of that stretch is when you can finally look back at it and start to realize that. I was going to say, Marcia, I'm hearing myself echo. It's like kind of messing with my.
Really? I don't hear it.
It just stopped. So I don't know what changed. But I was hearing myself echo. In the background, I was kind of messing with there. It just started going again.
I still don't have it. I don't know what's going on
weird.
this morning. Before we even started, Scotty apparently his face wasn't on the screen on his end, but he was fine on my end.
Xfinity, we're gonna have some words, man. We're gonna have to talk, but no, I just think where this Phillies team is headed right now, it's in the right track. You just got to keep it going. Obviously, this series. The most important right now, what's right in front of you, and you need to go out and win this series at home. But you got everything lined up. You mentioned it. Thompson threw Taijuan Walker out there in that series against the Astros. Now you don't have to see him. He's gotten moved to the bullpen even at this point. So you really won't see him in the starting rotation. But specifically in this series, I think it gives us a lot of good faith going forward. Looking at the starting pitching that we have lined up, including the bats, just getting hot at the right time right now where we really, really need to win this series. Now, you could have said the right time was in the last series against them in Atlanta, right? You could say that it would be that time that they needed to wake up, but I think now is just fine, man. I think we're ready to get back to it, and it's just funny, man, because the noise just isn't as loud when they, stream off a bunch of wins and they get the W against the Royals, they get the W against the Astros in that series, and now they started this series. Silence. So we're looking at 3 series potentially. Now, I'm not jumping ahead. I'm not saying, they're definitively winning this series, but you've set yourself up nicely by winning game 1 in this 4-game series, man. And if they come out of this series with another series win, that's 3 series wins in a row. What does that mean? Does that mean they're the hottest team in baseball now? Like, you know what I mean? Like we have to give them that same energy on the other side.
I want to take it a step further, man, because like I said to you, how you mentioned, we've been trying to preach to people to relax and look at the big picture and everything.
You more than me, because I was starting to lose faith last week.
Yeah,
I won't
don't get me
sit
wrong.
here and lie.
And we were both at one point sprinkling money on money line, sprinkling money on their team total. And when they're just shitting the bed, they're getting shut out in 7 innings.
Yeah,
it's very frustrating to watch.
That hurts
right?
a little more.
But here's the thing, Scotty. So this, I had to update this because this is even before the win last night. So for all those people again that were freaking out, Scotty, heading into June, where they had the best record in baseball. In June, they were 15-11. Okay. But people will still tell you, oh, going back to June 9th, they've been this, they've been that. They were 15-11 in the month of June. In the month of July, the worst month ever. Mind you, where they didn't have Ranger Suarez, where they were still missing a 5th starter, so they were down 2 of their 5 starters. When they were injured, when they were missing JT Realmuto, they were missing a couple guys. The worst month ever, they were 10-14. Where they played the Guardians, the Yankees, the Braves, oh God, who else was over that stretch? The Dodgers, the Mariners, the Diamondbacks, and forth. They played all these teams. They had the long West Coast trip, yada, yada, yada. They went 10-14 with all those injuries. And now in August, they're 14-11. So where exactly were they this putrid, awful baseball team for a month and a half like everyone was talking about? Or, again, is it just the fact that it's a summer, an entire summer, 162-game marathon, and they're not going to keep up a 741 win percentage like they had in May? Or is that possible?
Very possible, especially given the competition, right? And I think that's part of the conversation, right? Is that they ran into a streak of competition. Maybe they had a long road trip out west, but that's exactly what it is. It's a long road trip out west in the middle of the summer. You're going to have some down spots in the season. And I think if you look at the schedule, that would be where it makes the most sense of a down part of the season, right? But in the moment, to be fair, it's hard to recognize that. It's easy to look back at it now.
It is, and it's okay.
But to your point, you stood on business. Yeah,
it's okay to be frustrated on a game-to-game basis. It's okay.
But you have to hone it in.
They suck right now. This 6-7 game stretch when they lost 6 or 7, they are horrible right now. Yeah. They look like the worst team in baseball right now. But far too many people, far too many fans took that and just took it to a fucking extreme and said that they're not going to win a playoff series. They have no chance for a World Series. This bullpen sucks. The lineup isn't any good past the first 5. Yada, yada, yada. And you cannot take it that far, man.
Yeah, I do feel I feel this. I do feel this, and I don't think we're talking specifically to Martian. But I do think that there's other people that make indictments based off of the 162 games. There were people out there saying that the Phillies will not win the World Series because of this stretch. Yeah. Definitively saying they are not going to be World Series champions.
Yeah.
Because of a stretch in June, July, and August. That's what we're talking about. You got to hone it in. They're being extremely frustrating in the month of July. It's not in the month of September, October, November. We're not in the postseason yet. So I do feel that, Marshawn, because if we get to the postseason and they lose if they have to play in the first round, they lose in the first round, right? Or they get to the second round and they lose there at home. That's going to be disappointing. It's going to be a failure of a season. But we can't make that determination off of a losing record in July, though. That's where we're trying to hone it in here.
Right.
That's the point. But
and for
I'm not saying Marshawn was dying on that deal
nervous. I get it. It's a nerve-wracking feeling, especially come playoff baseball time. But and I get it. They slumped in game 6 and 7, blah, blah. But what has this team showed you over the last 2 years? This core showed you that make you think they're going to lose a wild card series to a lesser team.
Yeah.
They just last year they played the Marlins. I remember, Josh Bell's on the Marlins. He's a Phillies killer. Oh, that was a cute 2 games. That was a very cute 2 games right there. Right.
I think it's one of those things because I believe I fell into it at the trade deadline as well. wanting them so hard. And maybe it does come back to bite us later on in the season. We don't know yet.
Oh, quite possibly.
Like, wanted them so hard to go out and get one of those big bats like Randy or Rosarino or Jazz Chisholm, right, who went to the Yankees, I believe.
Yep.
I wanted them to go out and get one of those guys, but is that just coming from the rest of the Philly teams where it just feels like they go out, like the Sixers kind of set the tone of the offseason, right? When they go out and just get every single player that we could have ever imagined that we wanted this offseason for the Sixers roster, to the point where we're pointing out holes on the Sixers roster, right? Power forward. They go out and get Yabusele, who performed really well in the Olympics, right? So, like, they're going out and they're, like, filling every hole in our eyes. Howie Roseman goes out. We need a wide receiver 3. We need Jahan Dotson. Howie goes out, gets Jahan Dotson. Like, is it because of that we just feel like this roster needs to be perfect? Like, from the top of the batting order down to the last batter, they need to be able to crank it, right? The starting pitching rotation, you need a stud at every level of the pitching rotation. Like, is that where this idea comes from, that if this team isn't perfect, they will not win the World Series? Like, is that what the idea is? I don't know. I'm trying to think of where the idea comes from that this team isn't good enough.
Well, I also think, aside from just when you look at what the Sixers and Eagles are doing and have done, it's also how busy and active Dombrowski was the first 2 years he got here.
Yeah.
Schwarber, Castellanos, brings in Trey, all that stuff, right? And then this offseason, he didn't really do anything, right? He extended Nola.
Yeah.
He signed Whit Merrifield. That was the
guy.
A
lot of in-house.
Right. And then, trade deadline comes. I still like the trade deadline. I still like this Estevez trade. I think he's going to pitch meaningful innings in the playoffs. Austin Hayes is a 250 hitter that can hit for power, can get hot in. Like, I don't mind the trade deadline still, but again, there wasn't any real needle movers to the fans' eye. And I think that's the thing. I think we got so used to Dombrowski constantly just pushing all the chips to the center of the table over and over again. $300 million here, $180 million here, $200 million here. And it's like, when the one time he doesn't do it, we think he's not being active enough. We think he's not doing his job. When in reality, this team is just good enough to go win a World Series right now. Like, dude, like, again, I know it's regular season.
Without selling your prospects, your future, right? Like,
they're 5-1 against the Los Angeles Dodgers this year.
It's your direct competition.
You know what I mean? Like, so... And I know that's just one little sample size in the regular season against a team. And again, that was injured. Mookie Betts was injured, missed time. But I want to go back to this point right here, because I think this is the difference this year compared to last postseasons. And I know that sounds kind of wonky, because in reality, the bats are what went cold and kind of the reason they were sent back in the last 2 postseasons.
Yeah.
But outside of Wheeler and Nola, and then even Nola, would be great through the first 2 series, and then lay an egg in the NLCS and give up 5 runs in 4 innings and to the Padres and the Diamondbacks and whatever. But after Wheeler and Nola, the last 2 years, what did you really have, Scotty? 2 years ago, Ranger was closing game 4 or game 5 of the NLCS at home to go to the World Series. He was in the bullpen. Last year, Topper didn't let Ranger pitch past the 4th inning. Christopher Sanchez was pushed to the bullpen. They only threw 3 starters last year. Now, they still might stick with 3 this year. They might not go the full 4, but you do have that option in a 7-game stretch, and you had the best 4 in baseball. And what the depth now does, what the seriousness of Ranger Suarez being as dominant as he's been, and I know he had a 3-game stretch before the injury in the All-Star break where he was really bad, but if you just take his total frame of work this entire year, Ranger Suarez would still be in the Cy Young debate, at least. Right?
And he was injured. Obviously, he went out with an injury. Maybe that was impacting him during that stretch. Yeah,
Christopher Sanchez continues to impress. Sub 3.5 ER. Like, what this depth now does is it doesn't put so much pressure on Wheeler and Nola in games 1 and 2. It doesn't stress out your bullpen, right? Because after the first 2 games of a 7-game series, if Ranger only pitches 4, well, now you're throwing the bullpen the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And then if you go back to Nola or back to Wheeler, well, now he has to get you at least into the 7th because the bullpen is stressed, and then Nola is stressed. And it's just a trickle
Let me
down
ask you this.
when it
Let
comes
me ask you
to
this, because
top.
while you were talking through that, I just went and looked at the Dodgers starting rotation pitching wise. I went and looked at the Yankees. I'm gonna go look at the Brewers.
Oh,
Who do you
they
think
compare.
who compares to the Phillies from that standpoint?
They don't.
Like, who has a group four that they can trust that much?
They don't. None of them. Atlanta.
By the numbers, you're right. There is nobody. Like, I mean, I've looked through these guys. The Brewers are a little bit better, but still, that 4th guy is suspect. You know what I mean? Like,
well, not even that. Freddie Peralta, for them, who was supposed to be one of those top 2 guys, has stunk for most of this year.
Yeah, 3.7.
I mean, I know that's not terrible, but like, dude, trust me, I've had a couple Brewers bets scattered throughout the year when Freddie Peralta's on the mound. No bueno.
Personally.
But yeah.
Like, so let me ask you this: during this stretch, like, go ahead. No,
I was just gonna say, not many teams have a 1-2 like we have. Basically, no teams have a number 3 like we have, and 0 teams have a number 4 like we have this year. And that's a difference maker come postseason time, because Thompson should be able to trust Ranger to get you into the 6th and 7th this year and not pull them after one go around of the lineup. He might be able to trust Christopher Sanchez to start a game 5 or something like that, or a game 4 come NLCS time if they're able to get there. So that's just something to have in your back pocket. Also, maybe Sanchez makes a move to the bullpen, but someone gets into trouble early. Maybe Ranger gets a hook in the 4th, but you can throw Sanchez for 4 innings.
Yeah. You got a lot of options, man. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask you during this stretch where they have, we'll say they've turned it around, because they have in a sense, but like we've discussed, it's not that they were ever really out of like contention, right? But nonetheless, who during this last stretch, these last 3 series that we're looking at here, who has impressed you the most? Who do you really think has sparked that? I know you mentioned Nick Castellanos. Like, who do you think has been that driving force, or is it just too widespread to even name one person that has done that, right? Like, it's just everybody.
I think it is, man. Most times there's a guy that's on an absolute heater, right? We've seen Bryce's heaters. Yeah. We've seen Schwarber home run heaters game after game after game. We've seen Boehm heaters. Costy's been on a heater, but it's not like take over, must-see at-bats every time he's up. There's just a big at-bat coming somewhere in 4 for him, right? So he's been huge. Marsh, big home run this game, big home run the other night, right, against the Astros. Brandon Marsh has been huge. JT sparked everything in Kansas City on Saturday for this team. The pitching,
multi-homer.
Wheeler, Nola, and Ranger gave you 3 fantastic outings back. The bullpen all of a sudden is back, right? Like Kirker back, Strom back, Hoffman back. Estevez shuts the door the other. Like, I think it's been more of a collective effort right now. And it always is, right? With baseball, it's never just simply one guy. But like I said, there's normally like a standout heater. You know what I mean? Like when Bryce is 3 for 4, 2 for 3 with a walk, 3 for 4.
Maybe JT's was that standout heater, right? He did have a monster game. What was that against the Royals? Was that game 2
3-run home runs in that game, and that's they lost the night before. They came out and he sparked that win on Saturday, and that's
3
the
for
first
5
game of the winning streak they went on.
3 for 5 in that game, 7 RBIs, 2 home runs, as you mentioned. So
even let me just check.
Trey Turner was 3 for 5 in that game as well. Like, you know what I mean? It's not it still to that point. It's not just him.
No, but I will say Bryson Stott's been a lot better too, man. To go back to the start of this Kansas City series, he was 1 for 3 with an RBI in the loss. Then he was 4 for 4 in that win when JT went on a heater. Then he was 1 for 4 with a walk in a win. Then he was 2 for 4. Then he had an 0 for 4 game. Then he went 0 for 2 with a walk. Oh, that's in the bad game. And then he had 3 walks last night with 2 stolen bases. So Bryson Stott's been a pleasant, nice boost towards the back end of this lineup where he was just on a struggle bus, dude. Like, he was batting 235 heading into that Saturday game against the Royals. He got up to a 243 from that game. Like, he boosted his batting average almost 10 points just in that one outing, man. So that's how bad he's been and how easily swayed those numbers can be.
So the little hiccup that's mixed in this little streak, right? The 10-0 game the other night against the Astros. Is that just the Taijuan Walker game? Is that what that is? Yes. Is that what we're looking at there?
1,000%. And I think one of the biggest reasons they finally made the move for him to go to I know it's go to the bullpen. Dude, they're not the only time Taijuan Walker's being used is when they're down 7-0 and they need someone to just go throw pitches. Like, that's all that's going to happen. Like, people are like, oh, why is he going to the bullpen? He's never thrown from the bullpen his entire career. He's been so bad. Bro, I promise you, there's not going to be a 2-1 game against the Braves in the 6th inning and Rob Thompson goes, give me 99 out here right now. That's not happening. The issue, the reason I think it finally made the move, again, not only because he's been so bad, they're 0-9 in his last 9 starts, etc. It finally reached that point where it like sent a message to the team and the offense that we're not winning today. And you could see that from Spencer, is that his name? Spencer Arrighetti for the Astros. Yeah. I mean, he struck out 7 of the first 9 batters or 10 batters in the Phillies lineup.
Yeah,
he had like a 5 ERA heading into that game. He had them no hit into the 7th or 8th inning. Basically, it just spread to the team that I'm not. Why do we even show up today?
Well, I also heard this great point. I'm not going to take credit for it because it was on 97.5. I was listening to the Mike Missinelli show yesterday on the way to the gym. And this fan that called in brought up a great point, at least in my eyes. I can see it. When you have Taijuan Walker stepping out onto the mound to start in said game, when you look at your batting lineup, it automatically goes in their heads that, we're going to have to put up 7-8 runs today to get a win, right? Like, we might have to put up double-digit runs. In this case, they would have, right? 10 runs, they lost 10-0. So they start pressing. They start swinging at everything. They're trying to hit everything out of the ballpark. They're trying to force things from the batting standpoint to try to get runs. And it ultimately, in return, just counteracts everything that they're doing. So, this wasn't Martian's funny. This wasn't WIP though. That's 94.1, I believe.
Yeah.
I was listening to 97.5. Both of them can be toxic in a sense at certain points, but I like to give it a peep just to listen to what's going on in the city, listen to how people are feeling around the city. So I like to give it a little peek in there every once in a while, but there was a little bit of an annoyance yesterday. They were on there arguing about Dave Dombrowski and what he did at the deadline and what type of manager is he, blah, blah, blah.
Well, you know what's so frustrating to me about that, man, is aren't they the ones that are supposed to know better? And again, I get it. You want views, you want clicks, you want callers, you want ratings. I get it. You're trying to stir the pot. But for the most part, like, aren't they the ones that are supposed to know when the raging, annoyed fan calls out of left field after a loss and starts saying the fucking sky is falling? Aren't they supposed to be the knowledgeable ones? This is your job
to bring you back down to earth.
What things are. And now they've been doing it the whole time. They've been spreading the Thompson message, the Topper message. They're doing it with Dombrowski. They're calling out. They're just doing all this shit. Like, shouldn't you guys be the ones that know how a baseball season can go? It's unbelievable. It really is. And that, brother, is because of just how big a sports town this city is. And as much as like we and other content creators would love to believe, like, this is a new day of media, right? It's podcast, it's video, it's stuff like that. And I'm super glad that you feel that way. The problem is there are thousands and thousands and thousands of adult men and women out there in the city that don't care for what Scotty and I have listened to those things.
The city of Philadelphia is a very blue collar type of city. These are
Yeah.
people going to work. It's just easy access to
Yeah.
pop your radio on and it's already there.
Yeah.
So I do get it, man. People are stuck in their ways. It's just easy, right? It's their
Yep.
routine to wake up, get in the car, and just turn on the radio. So I do get it, but I do agree. There is a new age. There's a new day. You got
Now listen,
streaming
just like
podcasts.
at one point in time, newspapers died, right?
Yeah,
I just don't
yeah,
think we're there yet. And what I mean by
yeah. I
like you
agree.
said, you still had that generation or two of 30 something plus
Yeah,
men and women around here that have always listened to those stations, have
yeah,
their fathers, their grandfathers, they listen to those
yeah.
stations.
And they have the exclusive
And
rights. Like they get interviews with players,
right,
coaches. Yeah,
we're this is a couple years new, so those people aren't going to transition. Now, for
yeah,
people like when you have people around our age, and maybe in 15, 20 years from now, radio isn't what it is
yeah.
because there's no
Be all
more
podcast.
passing it down. My dad listens to this. My grandpa listens to this. Da 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 da.
Yeah,
It's like one day you're going to be a father, and I'm going to be a father. Hopefully, knock on wood. And they're not going to be introduced to that, man. So
yeah. I'm the same way here, Martian. I work from home, so like live streams,
yeah.
podcasts. It's
By the
easier
way,
for me.
I was on Twitter, and I forgot to start the show with this. And I know it's pretty morbid and sad, and I'm not trying to just bring the overall vibe down, man.
Yeah,
But rest in peace to Johnny Hockey, Johnny Gaudreau, and his brother Matthew.
crazy.
And I don't know how many times we have to say this, and I get it. Everyone makes mistakes. In a day and age of Uber and Lyft, what are you doing? Well, what are we doing where you're still getting behind the wheel, shit faced, and trying to get yourself somewhere or get yourself home?
Yeah,
Dude, home for their sister's wedding, riding bikes yesterday, and struck and killed by a drunk driver.
yeah. The eve of their sister's wedding.
Yeah,
Like, how do you even get married?
That's not happening. I mean, I don't see a world in which that's happening.
How could you? Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. I get chills thinking about it, man, because they're right around the same age as myself, and
31 and
I
29, dude.
could easily be riding a bike down Kelly Drive, down Lincoln Drive, whatever, like Wissahickon, and same thing could happen. Like it can happen at any time. So when people make those decisions, it impacts a lot of different lives, man.
Yep.
And we see that here. It's going to impact the entire hockey community. This area, right? New Jersey boys, like it's going to impact this entire area. His family, their family, I should say,
Yeah.
their family. Yeah, I don't know.
That's a scar that never heals, bro. That's a cut that never heals because
even once she gets married, she's just gonna think about this.
Right, because this was your
know.
wedding is now surrounded by this tragedy. If you're their dad,
Both of your brothers.
This is Gaudreau. You not only did you lose a son, you lost two sons.
Both of your sons. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Absolutely crazy, man. So I meant to start the show with that. Forgot because we were planning our Phillies trip tonight. But just absolutely
brings you
utterly fucking crazy and ridiculous that people still decide to do that. And it happens on a daily and nightly basis.
Yep.
As that man's fucking iPhone was probably sitting in his center console with the Uber app already downloaded, decided to drive a car less. No, what I'm not even going to go down.
No, you're right though. It's inexplainable, right? It's no excuses you can make for that. It's disgusting.
No,
so
bury him under the jail. In other news, man, and we can go back to Phillies in a couple minutes if you have anything else there. But like we started our show talking about the game in Brazil. We started talking about the color green. You don't want to be seen carrying this thing around in Sao Paulo next Friday, Scotty. The Eagles have released their uniform combo for the game next Friday, and they are going with the white tops, the black pants, and the black helmets because they do not want to wear green in Brazil.
Interesting. I guess we're lucky in that sense because the Packers, they'll have to wear green then, right? The green and yellow. So,
I guess.
Unless they have an all yellow uniform. I don't know.
White and yellow, something like that. I don't know. But
interesting though.
yeah, I mean, Dave Zangaro just tweeted the Eagles aren't wearing green in Brazil, but the Packers will be. So yeah, they're
But bro, at least it's I do feel this, Martian. At least it's not the all whites though, right? Like they pound those.
I did see a tweet. Yeah, no, it's from the Eagles. That's another thing. We've never seen this combination before.
The black, right? Especially with the black helmet.
It's the black helmet, I think, is the change.
Yeah. Because I've seen the black pants.
Oh, I think they're dope looking.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's a good combo right there.
Yeah, I am not a fan of the all white I do not like the white on white with the green helmet uniforms at all, dude.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I like the white on black. I don't mind the white on green. I love the black on black, the home green and Kelly green, all of that. But the white on white, because you know what they do? It's like, you know what it is for me, even though I own one of them? It's like when the Phillies wore the all red in Arizona last year, because it was that day. What was it, a Thursday or Friday? Whenever they would wear those, like the but they were spring training uniforms.
Yeah.
But they would wear them on a specific day in the season. So in the postseason, they wore them, and I didn't like it. The same thing with this. Like the white on white is preseason football, and it just doesn't feel.
And
I don't know.
Like the colors that they have, like their main colors are so dope. Like the Kelly green and the midnight green. It's like, why not incorporate that just a little bit more into the uni? Now, I mean, if they wanted to go on white with a white helmet, maybe it's a little different, because that's really clean when you got the white helmet to go with it. But I don't know. Overall, they just wore those a little too much. I don't know if that was just a last year thing. I think I noticed it a lot more last year. When they were wearing them all the time, but
for instance, bro, in practice yesterday, they were wearing white on white.
Yeah,
I'm
good
on
not.
I don't take it. I don't like it. I don't like the combination. I don't take it seriously. And I do agree. I don't love the white on green road unis either, but they're not as bad as the total white on white. I love, honestly, bro, what they're wearing in Brazil should be it should be their road uniform.
Yeah. And I would say, like, if they want to bring back the Kelly Green roadies for maybe 1 or 2 games, that would be dope as well. Because the white ones, the Kelly Green are nasty. Yeah, the white with the Kelly Green's nasty.
You know what's funny, man? I was gonna bring this up to you. I was at the last preseason game against Minnesota, and I myself wore Kelly Green. And you know how, like, as fans, we had the debate of, like, you know, would you want them to bring back Kelly Green full time?
Yeah.
Because it's like, does it take away from, like, the awesomeness of it if it's there over and over again in front of your face? You know what I mean? Does it make it less special when it's not just a game or two in the season? But dude, that whole stadium was Kelly Green almost.
So I'm
going to be honest, bro. It almost, like, doesn't look right. Like, because like we're wearing, like, they were wearing white on white. If they're at home in the regular season, for the most part, they're going to be wearing the traditional midnight green with the whatever.
Yeah.
And the whole stadium is just, you just see Kelly Green. Dots of Kelly Green all over the place. And, like, the aesthetic, it, like, looks off because it's not what the team's wearing anymore.
Yeah. It is. That's an interesting point, because, like, how many times is that going to happen? Is that just because it's a preseason game? Because, like, I know for myself, like, when I go to, like, an actual regular season game,
you wear what you think?
I try to. If I have one, I try to wear it.
On
right.
A Sunday night, and you know they're wearing the midnight or the black on black. Are you wearing?
I'm wearing a black. Jersey? Yeah. I do wear the black. So
I tend to do the same.
So maybe because it's a preseason game, maybe a lot of people don't get to go to regular season games; they're just too expensive. Maybe they wanted to wear their favorite jersey out there.
Very what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I won't wear the same jersey twice if they lose in it.
Yeah.
So like for instance, right? My closet, you know, I have a.
I'm trying to think of which ones I have banned.
I have a white Kelly Green Reggie White. I have a Kelly Green Hurts. I have a Kelly Green Cunningham. I have a black Dawkins. I have a black AJ Brown. I have a green Devontae Smith. And I have something else too, right? And my point is, let's just say week 1 in Brazil, I wear my Kelly Green Hurts at home. If they lose, the next week I'm not wearing my Kelly Green Hurts. But if they win, I'm wearing my Kelly Green Hurts. So if I go to a game, it almost now has transitioned from I try to wear what they wear in that moment to if I'm hot or not. Like if they win 3 in a row and I'm in my white Reggie White jersey, I'm wearing the throwback Reggie White jersey to the game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Because I was trying to think of which jersey of mine is like barred. And it is my white Jalen Hurts, man. That's the one I wore when we lost in the Super Bowl. And I just remember a couple times last year where we lost in the white unis and I was wearing it to match.
You know which one I think I wore in the Super Bowl, bro? I think you have it as well. You know that like light gray, like ones they came out with? I wore that in the Super Bowl and they lost. And I don't think I've put it back on my body since.
I do have that one too, man. And that one's weird. I like the color of it. Like it was different. So I did get it.
Yeah, it's not one of their jerseys, but
now that I have it, I like don't wear it often.
Yeah. It's almost like if I bought a frame, like that's one I would put in a frame and hang it on the wall because it is different and I don't really wear it.
Yeah, I agree. Get it signed. They're wearing the white on blacks, Hunter. Just to answer HP's question there.
Chill, bro. Chill.
They're gonna get swept.
Chill. I actually had the Boathouse Row Seth Curry jersey that year, so put some respect on those unis.
Right? Man. Oh, yo, hate to know which Boathouse Row jersey I got.
You got Toby, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
You know how you end up with the Tobias Boathouse Row jersey? It's because it's the only one left.
Yeah.
My man said Matt Curry.
I do want to get Ginn in the chat here for a second and stir the pot a little bit. Yeah, dude, the Phillies are going to get swept.
Punching air.
If you guys didn't know, it doesn't matter when the Phillies win games. It only matters when they lose games, Scotty. Rob Thompson doesn't win any of the games. He only loses the games.
If they win, it's a 162-game season. If they lose, they're not winning the World Series.
Well, if they win, Dave Dombrowski did his job. If they lose, Dave Dombrowski is a horrible GM and needs to go. 10 out of the last
bipolar city.
5 out of
That's
the
what
last
it is,
6. Won 2 straight series against 2 playoff teams in the American League. One on the road. Yeah.
That is what I wanted to ask you.
This little part earlier in the show, but for all the panic that was out there for so long, the Phillies, after starting incredibly hot the first 3 months, the Phillies went 15-11 in June, 10-14 in July, and 14-11 so far in the month of August. So just so you know, the 10-14 July
very good again,
and they're no longer a good baseball team until they start to win again. And now everybody seems to. I
wanted to ask you before we move on completely from the Phillies. I know we need to talk about the 53-man for the Eagles, but do the Phillies get a dub tonight? Ranger on the mound. We're gonna be
Ranger
there. I mean,
versus
a fucking W.
I know. Scotty went and got the ticks earlier. Get some tickets and get your ass down to CBP today, bro.
Yeah, man. Meet us out there. Tailgate. Let's do it.
Yes, I do believe so. I believe, and here's why too. When you have an injured team like the Braves are right now, is he going? Is he getting down there? One more down. Oh, he is.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll be out there around 2:30. Yeah.
2:30ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have an injured team like the Braves, who are that they just came in after sweeping the Twins, I believe on the road as well. They cut the division lead down to 5. You don't want to give them any hope, right? It's like when we talk about the Eagles on pregame shows and they're playing a much lesser talented team. You don't want to give that team any belief. You don't want to let them linger around. You don't want to let them hang around and into the fourth quarter and believe that they can win a game, because that's how you lose against a bad team. Well, when you have a Braves team that comes in as hot as they were, they cut it to 5, but they are injured. They, in the back of their minds, I don't care what anyone says, in the back of Brian Snicker's mind, he has to know we are at a great disadvantage right now. We are missing Ronald Acuna Jr. We are missing Austin Riley. We are missing Ozzie Albies. We haven't had Spencer Strider all year. Our pitching staff is in they know in the back of their minds they should not win this series. But when they're up 4-0 in the 5th inning of game 1, after they just took 2 out of 3 from you at home, they're looking at this like, hey, man, in a few innings, we might only be 4 games down.
Yeah.
When you come back in that fashion last night, it's only game 1 of 4. There's still over a month of baseball left. It's not quite ripping their hearts out, but that is a devastating loss for the Braves last night.
Yeah.
And I think when you deal with a loss like that, you're on the road, you're beat up. I do think this is an opportunity where the Phillies can unload and get a big win tonight. Now, they are facing Reynaldo Lopez, who they have struggled mightily against the last 2 or 3 times they faced him this year.
Just looking at those numbers
injury in Atlanta, we thought, okay, maybe his pitch count gets up there, that he struggles a little bit. Now he struck out like 7 batters, 8 batters, whatever the case was.
10.
So the bats, 10. Okay, well, all right, I misjudged him a little bit.
5 hits, 5 innings, 1 run, 1 walk, 10 Ks.
10 Ks in 5 innings. That's very interesting. So that can't happen tonight, right? So you have Ranger Suarez on the mound, who needs to just continue to do what, build off of that start in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do think they get a win tonight, man. I think not only do they get a win, if Ranger is on tonight, I think they win in the ballpark of 5 or 6-2.
I like
something
it.
like that. A little comfortability late in the
Knock on wood, man. Knock on wood. Every time I go to a game, I seem to get a fucking show. Like, I don't know what it is, man. Like, I went on my boy Parcero's like bachelor weekend earlier this summer. Yeah. Mind you, it was against the Athletics, but just a hell of a show. I mean, I got like a Bryce Harper bomb, a JT bomb, all in one game. I think I laid it in a parlay. Won like $100, so it was a nice shot. I'm hoping for one of those tonight, but obviously a little bit closer.
In the good way, though. In the good way.
We picked this game for a reason, because it is going to bring some intensity, man. It is going to be a big matchup. So yeah, putting the ring on it, man.
All right, let's look at this Eagles 53-man roster.
Since his wife, this man Martian, it's wild.
There's no way he's married, right? Like, there's no way Marshawn Lynch is married, right?
No, he would be divorced by now.
No, I mean, that's why he's got the alter ego of Marshawn Lynch. His wife has no idea he has this.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I need to create one of these. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Alexis. I will not do that.
8-2 win tonight would be a thing of beauty, man.
But we might be trash if that happens. So, maybe anyway.
I listen to way too much Future.
Oh, Martian.
Taking a look at this Eagles 53-man roster, Scotty. Let's see. They kept 3 quarterbacks. Tanner McKee and Kenny Pickett both make the roster. They keep 3 running backs. Will Shipley makes the roster. They end up keeping 5 wide receivers. Johnny Wilson and Britton Covey, obviously special team specialists for the Eagles, make the roster. Only 2 tight ends at the moment. They did, however, bring back Jack Stoll after he was waived and released by the New York Giants. So I believe is Stoll on the practice squad at the moment?
I am not sure. That's interesting, though. I forgot that he went.
Whatever the case may be, they'll figure it out. They kept, I forgot about this. Did they keep 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 offensive linemen. People, we'll get to it. People still seem to be a little hesitant on the depth there at O-line, especially with the Tyler Steen injury, but we'll come back to that. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Milton Williams. They did just yesterday get rid of Marlon Tuipulotu when they brought in former 3rd-round pick. What's his name?
Byron Young.
Byron Young. Had to play DT for them. Thomas Booker makes the team. Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, BG, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Patrick Johnson makes the team. Your linebackers are Devin White, Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond, Axman Jr., and Ben Vancer Murin. Okay. Yeah. How many DBs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
We just
8,
lost
9, 10.
Bradbury for
Basically 11 total DBs, and they lose Bradbury for 6 to 8
they already
weeks, it
got
looks like,
him
which
counted into that.
yeah.
So
So
Tristan McCullum is that
what
last guy.
when I look at this and when it initially came out a couple days ago, the first thing I'll say is no real I don't think there were any real surprises, right? I mean, if you want to talk, maybe not player wise, but the fact that they only kept 2 tight ends, maybe you could call that a surprise.
Paris Campbell was a
Yeah,
little
that
bit of a
that I was just gonna
surprise
say
to
that was
me.
the biggest one. They are lucky enough to have him on the practice squad. I don't think that should
Really?
go unnoticed.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't think that should go unnoticed. And if they, are in need of, if they do have an injury or two later on at some point in the season, you can always
Yeah.
bring Paris Campbell up, who had a decent camp for this team as well.
Yeah. I
I
think
do
that was
just
just
wonder,
like
do you think he was waived specifically because there's just no role for him? Like bringing in Jahan
Britton
Dotson, they're too
Covey.
similar. Johnny Wilson's a big body guy, red zone
Yeah.
target. Britton Covey, special teams kick return
Yeah.
guy. There's no role for Paris Campbell once Jahan Dotson was traded for.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think they were looking for someone to hopefully be better than Britton Covey in special teams, like an Isaiah Rodgers or something of that nature, somebody that can return kicks and punts, but still contribute to the actual team. I think they were looking for that this offseason, but they just weren't able to find it. They want that security that they get with Britton Covey, and I think Paris Campbell just falls by the way because they were able to get Jahan Dotson and kind of fill his role that he would have had. So yeah, I think you're spot on. I think they just didn't have like a specific role for him. Johnny Wilson gets the cut because he's just a fucking monster at receiver. So brings a little bit different of an aspect. I do think the 2 tight end thing is interesting. You brought that up. You brought Jack Stahl back, so obviously he would be kind of the first guy that will come back. He knows the system, he knows the players around him. But with Dallas Goedert's history, it is interesting, man. Like cutting CJ Uzoma, like I don't know. I would be intrigued to like,
bro.
I don't know. I guess I'm asking for too much because I'm saying like I would love to bring
Albert
in
O's still on. It's not on the 53 man, but apparently Albert
on
O's
the
like on the
team,
practice squad or something. Like
on the
or the
practice
injury list.
squad.
I don't know. I saw a tweet. I think it was actually Phil like quote tweeted and was like, "Wait, out. He's still a part of the organization."
Well, I heard that Dallas Goedert has like a little tweak already from camp, man. That like some type of oblique injury issue. And so, like, that's where I was going to go is like, man, Dallas Goedert, because he just leaves such a huge hole in the middle of the field when he's out, man. But maybe Jahan Dotson can help with that, being a quality third wide receiver. But still, it would be nice to have like a quality backup tight end. But maybe Grant Calcaterra can get better and like develop. Like maybe he's developed.
I believe Grant had it one hell of a camp. So
yeah.
But Grant
he's always been a better receiver than a blocking tight end. That's always been his downfall.
But again, Scotty, does that give you any intel on what Kellen Moore wants to do? Because traditionally in the past, they've kept 3 tight ends, and Stoll got a decent amount of playing time because he was an effective blocker off the edge, wasn't really a route runner or a pass catcher. We know what Goddard is. And like you said, Greg Calcaterra is a pass catching tight end. He is not a put his hand in the dirt and block for this team. So maybe that tells you what kind of offense Kellen Moore. Not a lot of 12 personnel.
I got Madden for my birthday, and so like I'm not trying to be funny here. I don't know if it's
through the playbook.
I don't know if it's completely accurate, but I've been using the Eagles playbook, which I would assume is Kellen Moore's playbook, and there is a ton of 2 tight end sets where I'm getting Grant Calcaterra on the field, and he's running routes. I mean, there's sets where he lines up at like fullback. You have Dallas Goedert at like a fullback position, and then Saquon in the backfield, and then you have Jalen Hurts right up there under the center. They have like routes you can run out of that. So once again, it's Madden. It's a fictional universe. But I assume that they put in parts of the actual playbook, like actual formations. Maybe the plays aren't the exact same, but they do try to mimic the formations and the style of the playbook. So it is interesting. It's interesting to think about. So maybe Grant Calcaterra can fill that role. The O-line. You mentioned the O-line. There's concerns around the O-line depth, but I don't know, man. Maybe I just have like this ultimate like belief and trust in Jeff Stoutland, man.
I do
Like
too.
I don't know. I just
Can
don't need to worry about it too much.
Can I see your O-line depth and raise you D-line depth? I don't know why that's not getting talked about more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and I know there are some guys like Nolan Smith's listed as a linebacker. Brandon Graham
With
for some
actual
reason is
edges.
right.
Yeah.
Like Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, Brett. So there are more. But right now, you have a Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Milton Williams D-line type of situation. They're all D tackles, by the way. I know Williams might line up outside here and there, but
Yeah.
you have 3 D tackles there, and then you have Sweat that can line up, and Graham can line up. So that's 5. Huff is 6. Nolan Smith is 7, and we know they like to run a rotation, man. I don't know. I don't want to see a ton of Moro Ujomo thrown out there in the middle of this defensive line. I don't want to have to see, like they do that. We talked all offseason about what's their weakest link, what's a little bit of your concern, and we kind of focused on linebacker, and I think kind of rightfully so, because it's just been such a concern for us in the past. But the D line is what I'm keeping my eye on first and foremost, man. Is
like that could be something as we're approaching the trade deadline that they feel
right,
they
because
need
the reason I say that too isn't only because of the depth or lack thereof. It's can the core be good enough?
Yeah.
Like
Jalen Carter has to be a star on the defensive line.
Jordan Davis has to be somewhat of a star.
Yeah, honestly.
Josh Sweat has to be a 8+ sack kind of guy, right? Nolan Smith has to take a leap. We're not expecting anything. He's going to
be relied on. He's going to be relied on, though, the way this is kind of set up, right?
Yep.
So, I do feel you. I think that, linebackers, it feels like linebackers have been kind of, I don't want to say overperforming, but maybe like just looking better than what we thought in a sense. Like a lot of the news about Nakobe Dean as camp started to wind down, as preseason started to wind down, is that Nakobe Dean was starting to show out and look like what we expected him to look like. Devin White has been kind of a bright spot in camp, right, with his veteran presence at the linebacker position. So I do think it's because linebacker isn't as important as the defensive line. Like it's just not as important in this day and age. So getting to the quarterback is always going to be the number one focus of the defense, in my opinion. It's weird because you finally got the balance, you finally got the depth in the secondary that you love to see, right? To the point where James Bradbury goes down. And mind you, I know we're all down on James Bradbury, but 2 years ago he was an all-pro. He goes down and we're not even we're remotely worried about it. So it is interesting now that you have that depth in the secondary, your front 7 or your front 5, I guess you would say, doesn't look as intimidating. But can Bryce Huff be a double-digit sack guy like he was in New York? Even though it was less snaps, if he gets you 10 sacks, it's 10 sacks at the end of the day.
1,000%.
So can he do that? Can Josh Sweat stay healthy? I think that's a big question.
I mean, dude, there's a lot of people banking on Milton Williams quote unquote breakout season. I mean, that's going to play a factor. Like it is. It's just he's going to have to be better.
More of a DT or is he more of an edge? Like
he's more of a DT. I just think in Fangio's defense, and I think he has kind of like slimmed down and like muscled up a little bit more than like when Milton Williams first came in the league. Like Milton Williams was your
big boy,
traditional like belly out, like 3-foot stance down in the center of right over the center. I don't think he's that anymore. I think he's a mix, but we'll see. I want to take it back before we wrap up here, man. Has nothing really to do with the depth chart a little bit, but just some reports I'm seeing after the depth chart was released, and that goes to newly announced number 27, which I love, by the way, that he got his college number now. The report is he's going to be starting across from Darius Slay. And when they go nickel, he's going to slide into the slot.
So he's going to start as a starting CB2. And then when they go nickel, he'll slide to slot CB and we'll bring Isaiah Rodgers out.
Keely Ringo, Isaiah Rodgers, yeah. But but I'm
CB2,
confused.
I
Like,
guess?
what does that
Keely
mean
Ringo.
for Avonte Maddox? Like, why is Avonte Maddox not the starting slot guy?
Maybe they push him back because of James Bradbury's out. Maybe he goes back to
Some
safety depth.
safety. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know.
So the reason I bring that up,
maybe
man,
they just want to get Quinyon on the field. Maybe that's what it is, man. They want him on the field as much as they can,
and
right?
thank you, man.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about it too, Scotty? I saw a clip from someone calling in 97.5, and it was on this very topic, talking about Quinyon Mitchell. And it was a fan, a younger guy, talking how he doesn't like it and ease him into it. And man, you know how I feel about that. I fucking hate why do we have this mindset? Why are we this training
Yeah, I don't
wheel
know.
ran city where our younger
We're not in
guys
position to
just
do that.
grow into the role and every blah blah blah? Like, yeah, in certain positions it works, in certain positions it's needed. When you go
Yeah.
out and draft a corner in round 1, when you go out and take the number 1 ranked cornerback in the draft,
Yeah.
that guy, especially in an area of need for you, like
It's a
corner
play.
was a humongous issue for them last year, and an area of need, that guy plays day 1. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah.
I know Keely Ringo might have had a nice camp. I know Isaiah Rodgers might look quick and might look good on the outside. That's all well and good. This dude was the number 1 corner prospect in the draft.
I'm getting Cooper DeJean on the field. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, these guys need experience, man. And that's actually where I was gonna go next with Cooper DeJean, is like, where does he step onto the field? Is he just kind of this Swiss Army knife? But to
I
your
think he's
point,
going to
man,
be. I think at first,
these
especially
guys
because
on the field, man.
of
Give them
the
the
injury to
experience.
start camp, I think he's definitely going to be a depth piece at first and just get thrown out
Special
there
teams.
sparingly at safety,
Yeah.
maybe at slot, whatever it is. And they'll work him into it a little bit more
You
because
know,
of the injury.
he's only 21 years old. Actually, I did not even know that. Like, he's very young for a guy that's coming into the NFL. For example, Quinyon Mitchell's 23, so he's got 2
Yeah.
years on Quinyon that he has there to develop and become something better. But it's exciting, man. I think aside from the offense, the secondary is probably where I'm like most excited to watch.
I agree. And that just goes against everything we've had for us over the last decade. Like,
Exactly.
we've had the influx of corners in the past, right? We've had Nnamdi Asomugha come in here. We've had Byron Maxwell come in here. We've had Bradley Fletcher and Corey Williams come in here. We've had these guys just transition in and out, and it's never worked. And then even when we won a Super Bowl, Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby and Patrick Johnson were your corners. And, last year, obviously, coming off of all pro years, but Bradbury's a disaster. We're weak in depth. It's never worked, right?
Rowe.
Eric Rowe doesn't work, goes to New England, ends up becoming a core player for them in the secondary. Just kind of how things have worked in the past. And now, and again, we have to see it. They haven't played a meaningful second yet in the NFL. But now there's hope, and now there's your future in the back end of this defense, and Vic Fangio can get creative with it, man, with all those pieces. But 1 week from today, Scotty. So next week, starting Monday, we'll be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We will be getting you guys ready for the opener against Green Bay. We're going to give you our Eagles predictions, season predictions, probably on Monday and Wednesday show, talking, just everything, going over their schedule one more time, giving our official record predictions, giving playoff predictions, player projections, team, over-unders, all that good stuff. And hopefully talking about a series win over the Braves for the Fightins. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM, guys, if you are watching, I see about 35 of you in here right now. I know you're not all subscribed to the YouTube channel. I know there's a lot of you watching on Twitter. Do yourself a favor, do us a favor. Check out the link tree in our bio. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's where you can get interactive with us. It's where you can get your comments pulled up on the screen here with us. So go do that before the show ends right now. So peace out. See you guys Monday and have a great weekend.
Peace, everybody. Have